It's here.
Somehow, Thomas has returned. Somehow, Screen Weens has returned.
Yes, somehow. But we won't explain it.
Isn't that weird that, like, it's really hard to, like, think of things from episode 9 for me sometimes, except for that. I remember that, and then I'll be like, oh, yeah, that stuff happened. Yeah, like, I'll remember everything. Like,
the issue with episode 9, mainly for me, isn't, like, necessarily... Well, it's primarily the fact that it just kind of, like, tries to undo a lot of stuff that The Last Jedi did, which it's like, well, that's just kind of bad narrative. Mm-hmm. But also just, yeah, they just try to cram in, like, way too much into, like, the movie, and they don't let any of the scenes really breathe. I mean, there's, like, one or two here and there, like... I think the obvious, like, Kylo Ren scene, pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a bad scene. I think Adam Driver's just so good that I'm like,
yeah, and I like the kind of, like, symbolism behind it and how it's meant to kind of mirror what he did in episode 7. I think that aspect of it's kind of neat. But yeah, aside from that, yeah, that movie fucking sucks.
I'm so excited to rewatch it. So
yeah, I rewatched this week, or since the last time we were on, because it's been a little more than a week. It's been like a week and a half.
Yeah.
I ended up watching the first couple entries of the sequel trilogy because me and my roommate had been watching Star Wars. So I was like, let's just dive into the sequel trilogy, and we watched episode 7, and then we watched, like, half of episode 8, and then we, like, didn't watch it for, like, a week, and then we, like, because he started a new job this week, so his work schedule is weird. So, yeah, we ended up watching that one in, like, 2 halves, like, a week apart, it felt like. And then, yeah, I just didn't even bother with 9 yet, so circle back around to that when the time comes.
But, yeah, this week, welcome back to Screen Weens. Yeah. This is episode
150. And we're finally doing it. We're covering Star Wars.
I like Star Wars, as you can see from... Wow, the way I did that, it didn't actually even show the fucking light there. I was like, as you can see, I have an arm.
Yes. Unlike
Ahsoka's there.
The main protagonist.
Star Wars right there, yeah. Yeah, this will be fun. I haven't rewatched any of the mainline movies since...
Episode 9.
Since episode 9. Because I marathoned them all.
Yeah, that was the same leading up. I guess technically I'd watched them leading into this week. Mm-hmm. Yeah, before that I hadn't touched them because I had gone through the Clone Wars and I was like, I was going to watch the entire timeline up to episode 9, but I was like, well, maybe I should just check out episode 9, see what it's all building to, and then I just, like, dropped dead on the Star Wars there for a minute, but...
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
like with a lot of, like, big sci-fi things, like Star Trek, I'll usually binge, like, 4 seasons of it, then I'll get tired, and then I won't touch it for, like, a year, and then I'll come back, and then I'll just, like, binge another big load of it, so Star Wars is kind of the same. I might rewatch Clone Wars, because there's a lot of stuff from it that I don't remember. Like, I didn't remember Saw being in it, as we found out last week, and I was like, oh, shit. Not that I think that would be, like...
I mean, it's like 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah. Not that it would be of, like, the utmost importance, but I definitely do want to go back and rewatch some of the good stuff, at the very least. Which is a lot of it. Because I was like, oh, well, I'd have to rewatch this, and I'd have to rewatch that. Fuck, might as well just rewatch the whole fucking show.
Yeah. I think Clone Wars is really good. I think I like Rebels more, but...
Yeah.
I think I just like the tonal, like, consistency of Rebels, because I think Clone Wars I think Rebels in general is more, I guess, a darker show. Like, there's lighter episodes, but I think, like, there's a big pendulum in Clone Wars. Like, there's episodes that are like, what the fuck, this is horrifying, and there's episodes like, this is a baby show.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think all in all, though, I might go as far to say as Clone Wars might be my favorite piece of, like, Star Wars media.
I mean, I get it. There's some, like... There are big arcs and chunks. Like, everything with Satine and Obi-Wan just breaks my heart. I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
It is.
The final season, which you haven't seen.
No, I haven't. I need to.
Those final 4 episodes, I think, might be if you cut it into a movie, that's the best movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, I don't know if I like it more than the last show, but I do think it's, absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I guess, final episodes, I've been playing Days Gone, and Sam Witwer does all the mocap and the voice acting for that. And Hinata is like, this doesn't sound like Darth Maul. But then whenever he, yells, she's like, okay, I hear it.
Yeah. You gonna play through the Force Unleashed games next?
I think so. It's been a while. I've played through both. I think the first game is really good. I think the second game is amazing, but then it's 2 hours long. I remember playing through it being like, this is so fucking awesome. And then I finished it, 10 minutes after I said that.
Oh.
Because it literally feels like you're ramping up for something, and then you're suddenly at the final boss.
Damn.
It's what the fuck happened?
Yeah. I don't know if they ever would, but I think it'd be cool if, they brought back some Legends stuff in, the video game sphere. Not everything has to be canon, so I think it'd be cool to get, another Force Unleashed game. Because I know that, they were in development for that third one, but it got, canned, right?
And I don't actually even think... I think Galen Merrick could work in regular Star Wars canon.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people bring up the power scaling thing, but it's
just scale them down. Yeah. But yes, it's ridiculous, but that is a video game.
Yeah. And it's we've seen Darth Vader do some of the shit he's done. And, probably not to the full extent. I haven't played through the games, but I know the big thing is, he, grabs that Star Destroyer or whatever. Which I guess Star Destroyers are pretty fucking big.
Yeah. It's a bit ridiculous.
But, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Kind of fun. I never got a chance to play through. I had The Force Unleashed, but I had it on the DS. So I was never super motivated to, get super far into it.
I think I played through it a couple of times. I remember I had the Wii version at first, which is definitely scaled down.
Yeah.
But it's, it still feels like The Force Unleashed. But also, it was the only version that had a versus mode.
Oh, really?
Just randomly, yeah. Which I played a lot of. And then I more recently played it. I think I played the Xbox 360 version, and then I also have it on Steam.
Yeah, I have. I have both of them on Steam, so when I play them in the future, I'll probably play them through there. But I also think
I do think the game's
for PS3,
pretty good. And I actually think that I complain about video game writing a lot, but Days Gone, the one I've been playing now, I think is pretty well written. I have some gripes with some of the gameplay ideas in it, but the story overall is pretty good. And some of the character, Sam Witwer, I think, is a really good voice actor, especially when he's just playing himself. But that's been really good. But even I think Force Unleashed has some pretty good ideas in it. It does feel like fan fiction a lot of the time because Galen Merrick is just so fucking powerful.
Yeah.
Which is how people view Luke too, which I really don't like. I'm he's just a god.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I like my old sad Luke.
Yeah, it's yeah, because that never made much sense to me because it's he trained for a year under Yoda, and it's is Yoda really that great of a teacher? He's
a weird fucking hobo.
From what we've seen in the prequels, Anakin goes to him I'm having these dark thoughts. I don't have to tell you about that, bro.
But yeah, what else have you been up to? Anything?
Yeah, I've been gaming it up this week. I've been playing games. I'm a decent chunk into Fallen Order. I'm at the part where you go back to Bogano?
Bogano, yeah.
Is that the tomb planet with all the tombs on it? Or am I thinking of...
I think Bogano is where you fight Ogdo Bogdo.
Ogdo Bogdo.
Did you never see Ogdo Bogdo?
No.
He's on one of the... No, that's Zer.
Yeah, I might not be there then. Yeah, because...
Ogdo Bogdo is in the very beginning of the game. You can just kind of find him.
Okay.
And he just kicks your ass.
I see. It's the planet that you show up on and you gotta go through, and it's got all little rat guys that'll come up and burrow out of the ground at you.
Yeah.
I'm on the second tomb of that planet.
Okay.
But then I think I said this last time. I beat the original Lego Star Wars.
Nice.
Then I played through The Wolf Among Us for the first time.
Among Us?
Among Us. Yeah. The Telltale game from back in the day.
Yeah, based on the comic book.
Yeah, Fables, which I might check out. I hear that the comics are
It randomly came back.
The Fables comic?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Because The Wolf Among Us 2 is coming out next
week. Literally, a couple months ago, I was doing a shipment. I'm like, is that Fable?
Yeah.
I thought it was just done.
Yeah, I think it was for a long time.
And they're like, yeah, we'll bring it back. Saga came back, let's bring Fables back.
But yeah, I really liked that game. I thought it was pretty good. Pretty fun.
Cool.
And then I played the first Life is Strange game.
Pierre loves those games.
Does he?
He loves those games.
Yeah, I played the first one. I think I chose, the worst ending, probably, because I was like, well, I've been playing this as a love story up to this point, so I gotta see it through.
I think I remember what happens there. Pierre's talked about it a lot.
I need to go back and play that last episode again and try out the other ending, because I think that's the ending I would probably find more satisfying.
Did you enjoy the game?
I'd say overall I enjoyed the game.
I've heard the newer one, the True Colors or whatever, kind of like the spin-off one. Apparently that one's really, really good.
Yeah. To my understanding, I've heard pretty good things about the first one and Before the Fall, or Before the Storm. Then I've heard kind of mixed things about the second one.
I have too. Pierre's a big proponent of the second one.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I plan on playing the rest of them. I'll probably play through, maybe not this week, because we're going to be watching the prequels this week, but I'll probably play through Before the Storm here pretty soon.
Cool.
But yeah, I'd say overall I like it. It's definitely clunky in the writing department a lot of the time in terms of some of the stuff.
Because it's a French team trying to write American young adults.
And there's some stuff in there where it's but overall I was like, yeah, I like the vibe of the game. It's very, very nice, very slice of life. There are definitely some parts in it where I'm playing it and I'm like, oh man, this is making me feel very uncomfortable because the main villain of the game is pretty gross, so it's it kind of makes sense. It's not something that I think is unwarranted, but the whole time I was playing, I'm like, I don't know if I want to play through a detailed time loop of this situation. Yeah, it's good, and actually, I think there's a sequence towards the end that actually flared up my anxiety a little bit, which I don't really get from any. I play a lot of horror video games, and that almost never happens. So I gotta tip my hat to that sequence.
Your fedora?
Towards the end. Yeah, my cabbie hat. But
bring that back.
No.
Where the fuck's that?
Nah, Neckbeards took it.
Bring back Neckbeard Thomas.
Neckbeard Thomas. No, Neckbeard Thomas is too strong. But yeah, so beat those. I'm trying to think. I didn't really play anything else. Trying to think. Did I watch anything? I feel like I might have watched another movie, but I don't remember what it was. Let me check my letterbox and see if it popped up. Well, I said I watched the sequels, the first two sequels, so there's those. Might have been it. Yes.
Alright. Let's see. What did I've been playing a lot of Days Gone. I think I'm pretty close to the end of it. I've been enjoying that. And then movie-wise, I've watched a decent amount of stuff. I watched Devil in a Blue Dress, which is a Denzel movie from the 90s. It's based on a book. It's about a random guy that gets hired pretty much to find a girl. Because he really needs money. He's poor. So he kind of turns into a private detective just out of necessity. It was really good. It was really good. It's set in post-World War II America. And he's making absolutely no money. So he's like, I guess I'm going to be kind of shady so I can make some money because I need to pay for my house.
Yeah.
But it was really good. Denzel's so fucking good. And Don Cheadle randomly shows up like 70% of the way through the movie, and he's delightful. He's a maniac in that movie.
Oh, okay.
Then the next day, that same day, I watched DC League of Super Pets. Not very good.
See, I've been hearing people say otherwise online.
Yeah, well...
Secretly a masterpiece?
Yeah, well, people are fucking...
I can say it just by watching the trailer. I think I'd hate it. So.
I didn't necessarily hate it. It just kind of was happening on the screen, and I'm like...
Yeah, it gave me major Secret Life of Pets just with DC properties.
Yeah. It just feels weird because it actively just feels like they're ripping off Secret Life of Pets, which is such a weird movie to rip off. Mm-hmm. Like, I know you're making a League of Super Pets, but it doesn't have to feel like the exact same movie. Yeah. Natasha Lyonne, she voices the turtle in it, though, and she's fantastic in that. She probably made me laugh quite a bit. Yeah, it was a movie. I watched the new Catwoman animated movie.
Oh, they did a Catwoman?
Yeah. And it's more like anime inspired, kind of like Batman Ninja. It's not like the same like CG or anything, but it feels like a Lupin movie for the first like half hour. Like she's doing a heist, and it's great. It's really, really good. And then the rest of the movie happens. It's not very good. The final fight's pretty cool, but I was really rocking the first part. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Then I've been watching a lot of artist movies by artists. I watched Secret Honor by Robert Altman. It's Philip Baker Hall plays Nixon. Oh, okay. And it's just him in a room by himself recording like an audio diary for an hour and a half. And it's right after Watergate, pretty much. Like, right after he realizes that he's going to lose this trial, pretty much. It can get a little, like, dull at times just from the way that it's filmed. You know, it's an hour and a half of nonstop dialogue. Mm-hmm. But overall, I really liked it. Philip Baker Hall's so fucking good in it. And it's really weird. It's like kind of a biopic because it's mostly him just talking about his life, but it's like fictionalized in the sense that they're like, this is a fake character based on Nixon, even though it's actually just Nixon. We saw Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, the new A24 film.
That one's completely...
It's based on an old YouTube short. Like it's like a sequel to it. Jenny Slate plays Marcel the Shell. And it is fantastic. It was a great movie. A lot sadder than I was expecting. A lot of it is about like what it means to be a person and like the feeling of longing and wanting to be part of a family and what it feels like to lose a family. I was just like, okay.
Now that A24 is doing like YouTube sequels, do you ever think that they'll like do like A24's like Ghostmates too?
I hope. Yeah. I also watched Le Bonheur. It is an older, like one of Agnes Varda's first movies. Oh, okay. And it was so fucking good. I love her movies. Mm-hmm. It was pretty much about a guy in France who just cheats on his wife and then kind of just gets away with it. Mm-hmm. And then everyone's really happy. And it was just like, it felt like a satire just being like, look, men... they just get away with fucking anything. It was really like gleeful in its cynicism. It looks great, and I love Agnes Varda. It was so good. If you ever have time to kill, it's like an hour and 20 minutes, and it's so good. And then the next day, I watched a Bergman movie. I watched The Passion of Anna.
Oh yeah, how was that one?
Have you seen that one?
No, okay. I haven't.
I think if I rewatch it, it might become one of my favorites, but it's kind of like how I feel about that Lee Chang-dong movie. Is it Peppermint Candy?
Yeah, the one where it loops backwards.
Yeah, like it kind of, comes into place right at the very end. But the rest of the movie before that, I was like vibing with, but not as much. I felt kind of the same way with this. I think the very final part is like so good, and it's Max von Sydow and Liv Ullmann again, and they're just the best at their craft.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like the movie is just constantly jumping in between, like, times. Like, you're jumping forward an unspecified amount in just small little sections of, like, this life of these people that are, like, falling in love and then falling out of love. And I think it's really good. I just had trouble with the structure this first watch. But I think now that I kind of feel it, if I rewatch in the future, I might like it more.
Okay.
We watched It Chapter 2, because we had rewatched. I still really like It Chapter 2. I think the length really helps. I think it's close to 3 hours long. And I think that really helps with those character dynamics. I think there's a couple characters in the first one that just fucking no character.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps in the second one. And I like the adult cast quite a lot. And I really like just the ambiance of scenes in that movie. And there's a lot of, like, jump scares, but everything, which are, like, kind of eye-rolling, but everything surrounding that, like, the scene structure and the look of everything just looks great. I think it looks really, really good. We also, for Hinatea's birthday, we watched National Treasure 2. Which we had watched National Treasure 1 a couple of weeks ago. I still think National Treasure 2 is where it's at. I think the first one's good. I think the second one's great.
Yeah.
I think it's got much more iconic scenes. Nick Cage is kind of freaking it. And I really like Ed Harris as the villain. And then almost done. We watched Bullet Train. New movie in theaters.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's by David Leitch, something like that. He's the guy. No, he's the guy who did, like, Deadpool. I think he did 2 or Deadpool 1. He also did, like, Atomic Blonde and Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay.
I liked Bullet Train. Brad Pitt's the main character in it. Kind of off the train of Brad Pitt after I learned he was a fucking scumbag. But I also just don't like his character in it, and I feel like a lot of the media that I've been surrounding myself in lately has been talking about Orientalism in, like, movies and video games and stuff. And I think it was, like, up to an absurd amount in this, to the point that it just feels, like, blatantly racist at times. Because it's set in Japan, it's set on a bullet train, which is all well and good, but it never actually feels like any people from these regions, from this place, were part of the, like, creative team behind it. Like, yeah, there are Asian actors in the movie, but that's not enough.
Well, as famous director Ridley Scott would say, fuck off, get over it. That should be interesting, because he's directing a Napoleon movie, which I'm sure is probably going to have tons of actual input from, like, I don't know, French experts or anything on the matter.
I'm less shocked at that. I'm like, the Napoleon, I don't give a shit. Make him, like, I don't know.
Joaquin Phoenix is playing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I always see the stills. I'm like, he looks so dumb. But in a fun way. I think Bullet Train is a good movie. I just think it could have been great, because there are certain characters in it that I'm like, if these were the main characters, this movie would be, like, 100 times better. I also watched the HBO Max original movie, We Met in Virtual Reality, which is filmed completely in VR chat and talks to people who fall in love in VR chat.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
That sounds...
I think the actual stories in it are... Because a lot of it is set during COVID. Like, they talk about falling... Like, they couldn't go out. They couldn't meet people. So they spent all their time in, like, this escapism. And they're talking about, like... There are times where they talk about, like, is this healthy? Is this a good thing? Well, yeah, because you're meeting real people and you can be your authentic self. But it's weird because I've played VR chat, like... Yeah. Are people their authentic self in VR chat? But also, there's so much fucking B-roll in that movie of just people fucking around in VR chat. But the most, like, sanitized, boring version of VR chat. Where it's like, look, we're on a boat. And I'm like, okay.
No, you gotta, like, have, like, a weird fucking... I don't know, licensed character that's, like, trying to show you their asshole.
Yeah. At one point, I did see Gizmo. And I'm like, oh, is that Gizmo in the back? I think, like, there's a 40-minute, like, short doc in there that's good, but it's like an hour and a half. And then we watched Prey,
Yeah, I've heard interesting things about it.
I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, when I heard the concept, I was like, well, that's kind of like conceptually kind of more so what I want.
Yeah, I think Predator movies, it should just be like, random point in time, they fight a Predator.
I don't really need a whole lot of plot from a Predator movie. It's more about like the environment and the tension. So it's like...
I think it's by the guy who did 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And that actually did have this movie had a ton of input from like indigenous people. And it has an all-indigenous cast, except for French people in it. But overall, I think it's really good. I think the first, 30 minutes, kind of before the Predator, really shows up and starts fighting things, it's a little bare bones. It's it's good. It's good. It's just not great. But I think, the last hour, because it's only, an hour and 40 minutes, is just, nonstop, really, really, adrenaline-pumping fun. It also has a full Comanche dub, which I think is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I think it's really annoying that Disney decided to just dump it on Hulu. Because it didn't get a theater release. I'm like, that's annoying. Because that movie, watching it, I'm like, this would have fucking killed in theaters.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, overall, out of the 2 Predator movies I've seen, I would say it's my favorite.
Yeah, I know in the lead up to it, because I remember when it got announced, people were, of course, the fucking people online were, oh my god, the main character's a woman and a Native American.
And I'm like, it's a woman kills. I'm like, what the fuck? Have you seen Alien?
SJW, forced representation in my media. It's like,
I'm like,
we're past
right around this time. There were other in the 80s and the 70s. There were action movies with women leads. What happened to people?
Yeah, I don't know. People are just fucking.
It was Sarah Connor.
Yeah, well, see, the difference is Sarah Connor's a white chick, and it's
literally
forced representation.
It's really rough. It's rough out here.
It's just
and then, yeah, that's what I did this week. Before we jump into anything else, I wanted to talk about the DC news, the HBO stuff. Did you hear about any of this?
So I saw
baffling
a highlight pop up on my Twitter, but I didn't really look at it. I saw there's controversy because they were removing originals off their platform or something.
Well, American Pickle, I think Final Spacer. There's a couple that they're just removing. HBO and Disney, HBO Max and Discovery now are merging. Because Discovery, I think, bought or they're doing a merger of their companies. But with the new heads, it's been rough. They canceled the Batgirl movie. They're not releasing it.
Yeah.
And even though it's pretty much done.
I heard about
because they thought the tax write-off they would get would just make them, would save them more money.
Oh.
Wow. They say it's because of the test scores, but it has the same test scores as It Chapter 1 or the new Black Adam movie, which is still coming out. I'm just really, really annoyed because they also didn't tell the cast or crew until they just announced it.
Mm-hmm.
They announced it while the director was at his own wedding. Brendan Fraser was in it. This was going to be his return to the movies because he was the villain in that. And he was so happy. He celebrated his birthday on set because he was so happy with being in this movie. It's also the first movie with a Latina lead for the superhero role. It's
wasn't Michael Keaton also in
Michael Keaton, yeah. Michael Keaton's Batman is in it.
Dude, what the...
And he's also being replaced in Aquaman 2 by Ben Affleck because test audiences thought it was too confusing. Fuck test audiences.
Yeah, who gives a shit? Test audiences are always going to shit on movies.
But HBO in general is just canceling a bunch of DC stuff right now, which is so annoying. And they're making this, we want to be more like Marvel, we're starting a 10-year plan, which I fucking hate. I hate that shit.
It's too late. Because it's too late.
And also, the thing I like about the DC movies lately, the last 5 years, even the ones I think that suck, they feel like different movies.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah, because the DCU was trying to be like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they were rushing through it.
But and then starting in like 2018, the last couple movies, they feel like their own things. Like the Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, Aquaman, Shazam, they all feel like they're made by their directors. They all feel like separate entities. They don't feel like studio films.
Yeah, and it's also nice just to be able to like I went and saw the new Batman movie because I didn't have to fucking...
Because it's not connected. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but like I won't go see fucking Doctor Strange because I didn't watch fucking WandaVision amongst various other shows.
It's really annoying. I'm actively so annoyed. They also canceled Scoob 2, which I'm actively annoyed at too because like it's done. They finished it. Or literally today, they went in and they recorded the soundtrack to it, like the music for it, because they're like, well, we already paid for it, so we're just gonna go do it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't like Scoob, but you're robbing children of Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah,
I was like,
there's tons of kids,
and it's just for tax write-offs. These movies are practically done. And they would make money, but it just proves that movie executives, they don't care about their products. They just care about the bottom line.
They're literally doing the producers thing.
Yes. And it's so annoying because I think HBO Max, is the best like mainstream streaming service. Yeah. I probably like Criterion Channel more, but that's because I'm a fucking weirdo that watches old movies.
Also, HBO Max has a lot of...
But I think it is actively going to become worse in the next year. Way worse.
Probably. Along with like the other streaming services too, because Netflix is fucking taking a fucking shit as well.
Like I think Hulu...
Do you think we're actively going to start to see the tipping point where streaming services start? I mean, obviously they've been rising and falling for years.
Well, I mean, like piracy is at an all-time high right now.
Well, yeah, because you need like 50 fucking subscriptions to watch a cohesive.
Well, and it's so expensive and so like cost prohibitive. And if it's just like they could just do ad-supported stuff. That's why like Tubi TV is one of the best streaming services because it's free. And it still has a good selection of stuff. Mm-hmm. And Tubi TV's UI fucking sucks, but it's better than fucking Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
And Prime Video. I don't know how the fuck they go with their UI. It's so fucking terrible.
Yeah, well, it's because Amazon doesn't have to fucking pay for anything because they're already the fucking richest company in the fucking world. So it's like, yeah, it's just...
we also finished season 1 of The Boys and started season 2. Everyone's really liking that show, and I'm like, it's fine. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
I have a feeling if I ever read the comic, holy shit, that sucks.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, comics tend to be a little messier.
Everyone I've talked to at my work that I've talked to about it is like, yeah, it's the worst fucking comic I've ever read.
Yeah, because I mean... I hadn't heard of it before the show, so...
There's a lot of sexual assault in the comic book. And there's been a couple of times in the show, but I feel like it's handled with a lot of tact, like more than I expected.
Yeah.
And it's not really played as a joke, and it's not really shown. It's just more like implied, or it's about to like happen, and it's cut away or something. While it's just like graphic in the comic.
No, damn. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I've done this week, and that's my rant on superheroes. Yeah. Joker 2 got a release date. 2 years from now.
Sure. They're making that?
Yeah, it's a musical. Lady Gaga is going to be in it. It sounds actually incredible. Yeah, I'm like, this sounds wild.
Huh. Yeah, it certainly sounds wild.
Yeah. I don't know if Lady Gaga is going to be playing Harley Quinn in it, but...
That would be an interesting choice.
Yeah. I think it would work fine. Like for Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
I would. But
I actually really like Lady Gaga as an actress. Like the stuff I've seen her in.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine I'll go into it with an open mind. I'll probably check it out. I don't imagine I'll like it. I didn't really care for the first one.
I remember liking it. I have a feeling I'm going to rewatch and be like, oh.
Yeah. I recommend watching at least King of Comedy before you rewatch the Joker. That way you know.
I'll be like, oh, this is the clown of comedy.
Yeah. And not to say it the Joker can't stand on its own at all because like it's not like it's a carbon copy, but like you can tell that
it's heavily influenced.
Yeah, it's like they only mix together like 2 or 3 movies to get that. Where it's like I think if you're taking influences, stealing influences from things, you should mix them around with a bit more things. That way, it becomes less obvious.
That's fair. All right, I think we might have some questions today. Let me check this out. Check-a-roo. Yes. Question 1. Do you know a character in media who owns a boat and does not look like they evade taxes? So they have to own a boat and they have to look like they pay their taxes.
Trying to think of characters in boats. Oh, yeah.
Luffy does not pay.
I was gonna say, yeah, they're pirates.
Garp.
Yeah, maybe. He's a high ranking.
He probably doesn't have to pay tax.
Yeah.
The taxes pay him.
Let's see. Flapjack. No.
He's also a pirate. Ish.
Yeah, kind of.
The first person I thought of was Billy Crudup's character from fucking Rudderless. And I'm like, why is that the first character I thought of? And also, no, he fucking probably does not pay his taxes because he's living out of his boat.
Yeah. Well, he lives on a boat.
Also, he was like a super rich high executive before that, so I know he wasn't fucking paying his taxes before that.
Yeah. Boats.
No. Can't think of any.
Yeah, I don't know many. Yeah. If you own a boat, you don't pay your taxes. I don't know what to tell you about that.
I think maybe the Meryl Streep's character from Mamma Mia, I think she owns a boat. She probably pays her taxes.
Maybe.
She probably has to pay her taxes. Like, it'd probably be pretty hard to not pay taxes on a hotel. Like, it seems like that might be harder to get around.
Possibly. But you never know.
But they do live on an island, so...
Yeah.
Question 2. What is the best tool that can double as a weapon? Chainsaw? Actually, I don't think a chainsaw would be that good of a weapon.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be clogged with, like, blood or something.
Probably like a hammer or something.
Hammer's a classic.
Yeah.
Tool. Does a gun count as a tool? It's a tool for killing.
Yeah.
A hunting rifle is a tool for hunting. Tennis racket.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep, a hammer. Classic, old, reliable.
Mm-hmm.
A car.
Yeah.
There we go, a car.
Perfect.
Question 3. Who would you want to be responsible... I'm not reading that one.
Fine, but...
It's talking about the death of a certain celebrity that Pierre does not like.
Oh, I see.
Your favorite.
Oh.
David, yeah.
Mr. David.
Yeah. Not gonna just read that on here. Just be like, who do you want to murder him? In a jet ski accident. So yeah, no one.
Yeah. Preferably no one, if it had to be anyone.
Oh, here's some other news real quick before we start. James Franco got casted as Fidel Castro in a movie. Didn't know he was still working. Well, because he tried to have sex with an underage woman. Girl.
Well, unless he gets
also
jail time, he's probably going to keep getting those paychecks and gigs.
Also, he's not Latino.
Well...
But what does that stop? You see Prey, you're like, maybe we're making progress. And you're like, no, James Franco just got casted as fucking Fidel Castro.
Yeah. Well, for every fucking step forward, someone else has got to take 2 steps backwards.
Literally.
But
yeah. All right. Let's do it. Let's talk. What do we want? How do we want to do order? Do we want to start with New Hope or do we want to start with Solo?
You want to just mix it up and do like chronological order?
I thought you were going to mix it up, start with episode 6, then like Rogue One, then 5.
Just shake it up.
Just shake it, put them all in a bag, and just kind of, okay, next time we're going to start to talk about scene 3 from episode 5, and then scene 4 from episode 6. All right, let's talk about Solo.
Solo, a Star Wars story. 2. It's not called that, but
it is the second one.
Yeah.
I remember you were pretty mid on this one when it came out.
I was pretty mid on this one when it came out.
I was very high on this one because it was a Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
I will say right now, rewatching these movies, I did not give all of them 10s. It's progress. I've grown. I gave 2 of them 10s.
Oh, okay.
This watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Solo, I still think Solo I really, really like. Plot, Han Solo has to do the Kessel Run. What? He gets the Millennium Falcon. Yeah. He has a sexy lady friend who, turns out to be evil, works for Paul Bettany.
Yeah, he's a fucking, like, little scoundrel on this planet. He's got a girlfriend
for a giant worm
that he has to leave behind while he's trying to escape with this, like, I don't know what the fucking plot device is, the MacGuffin. The thing that he needs to get off the planet. And then he has to leave her behind. He's like, I'll come back for you. And he takes, like, 10 years because he's like, all right, well, I'm going to become a pilot.
3 years.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
He's going to become a pilot, and then it just hard cuts to him in the middle of a fucking war zone because he had failed out of pilot school because he was too hot-headed.
Yeah, so...
Which tracks.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, basically he ends up meeting Woody Harrelson and his gang of people.
Band of misfits.
Yeah, who are, like, not... part of the Empire, but they've like just kind of put on dead people's uniforms and are up to no good, trying to steal some shit, trying to do some smuggling. And so Han Solo ends up trying to join them, but then they toss him down into a hole where he meets Chewbacca for the first time, and he speaks Wookiee. So then they're like, all right, well, these two are best friends forever now. So then the two of them go up and get saved by the group of smugglers, and they go on a run, and oh no, marauders, and cue arguably one of the top tier Star Wars tracks. Marauders arrive, which is fucking sick. I love that track.
I think Solo has a really, really good soundtrack.
It does.
But it also feels different, too. Like, it doesn't feel... It reminds me a lot of, like, the Mandalorian soundtrack, because they feel at home in the Star Wars universe, but not like a John Williams score. Mm-hmm. In a good way. Like, it's good that it's different and fun. Yeah. It's like, hey, other music can exist in this series. Mm-hmm. And be good.
But yeah, so basically, they all die except for Woody Harrelson and Han and Chewbacca. So then the three of them are like, well, we're going to go up to your boss and we're going to try to negotiate and steal some more of this stuff that we fucked up stealing. So they do, and then Han Solo meets his old flame.
She's now working for Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, who is played by...
Emilia Clarke.
Yeah. Fucking evil man plays evil man.
Yeah, Paul Bettany's a dick.
Yeah. But
everyone's a dick. Woody Harrelson's nice, from what I know.
Yeah, to my understanding. I know that
he's a little bit of a weirdo, but...
Yeah, I think his biggest scandal that I've heard of is this fucking, like, Reddit thing that he did back in the day.
I remember that. That was classic. But that's just kind of funny at this now.
I don't even know if that was I just don't think he understood.
I also probably don't think it was him. It was probably an intern. Like, it probably was not him.
But, yeah, so fucking, what's it called? So, yeah, they're basically, we'll go steal this, like, expensive substance.
Coaxium.
He's like, all right, what is Han Solo's old flame's name? I can't remember.
Kira. With a Q.
Yes. Kira, you're going to go with him and then make sure that they don't fuck it up. So then, yeah, they all go on a quest and like, we need a fast ship. Well, I know a guy who's got a fast ship. Turns out to be Lando, played by Donald Glover in this version. And he's wonderful.
He is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of recasting in Star Wars. Like, I'm not super big on the guy who plays Han in this movie. I think he's okay. He just doesn't feel like Han to me, which is fine. It's like this weird middle line where he's like, sometimes he feels like he's trying to be Han, but sometimes he's not. Whereas, like, with Lando, it feels like he's more so just trying to do his own thing.
Yeah,
which I expected more.
I like that, but I do like what Alden Ehrenreich does for Han Solo. I think if it was closer to the original trilogy, I would have more of an issue, but because it is 10 years before, I think it works well enough for him to be kind of more an enthusiastic version of Han, who like kind of has some of his characteristics, but is, I don't know, a little more hopeful in the world. I get it, but I like what he does with it. I do like what Donald Glover does with Lando, though, quite a bit, though. And I would love, like, if they were to do anything else...
Yeah,
I would love to see him. Because there was originally supposed to be...
There's still, like, buzzings about it.
Because there was originally supposed to be a fucking... It was supposed to be a Solo movie, a Lando movie, and an Obi-Wan movie.
Yeah.
What could have been?
What could have been, yes. But,
a Lando movie would have been fucking sick.
Yeah, I know that they're talking about doing a Lando series.
He's just like, I'm running for president. That's what the series is about. He's running for the president of Bespin.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't mind if they went before this and it was just misadventures of Lando and his awesome droid.
L337? Or no, that's lead speak.
Yeah, I don't remember either of the droids from these two movies names.
K2SO is in Rogue One, okay. And it is L3.
Yeah.
What is it? Solo. Oh no, it is L337.
Okay.
It's literally lead speak. Cool.
Nice. But yeah, so basically he goes, he's like, I'm gonna win his ship from him in this space poker match. Sabacc.
Don't worry, I know everything about Star Wars. This is gonna be so annoying. You're gonna be like, this thing, I'm like, oh, that's Sabacc. Obviously. It's
like an Empire, they have like the guys holding like the ice cream machine. And
Woodrow Hill.
Is that the guy's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they give the ice cream machine like device and name.
Yeah,
I just don't remember what.
It's like a cloaking. It's like some shit. I can't remember what it fucking does. But I remember his name's Woodrow Hill because I always talk about him randomly. To like new employees I work with, I'll be like, "So what do you think of Woodrow Hill?"
It's like,
and they'll be like, "Who?" And I'm like, oh, "Come on! I thought you said you like Star Wars."
Yeah.
I am the worst.
It's like. Tell me what your favorite Max Rebo track is.
Holy shit. Fucking love that guy. But yeah, they take the ship because Lando cheats in Sabacc, classic Lando. Mm-hmm. But he still agrees to go because he's getting like 25% or something like that.
It's originally 25, but then like something happens and it gets knocked down to 20 later.
That's right. But he tries to get 40 and Woody Harrelson's just like 25. And he's like, okay, fine. So they go on this adventure. They do the Kessel Run. They fight a giant space eldritch horror.
Yeah, something out there.
And they make it to Kessel. They make it back. And then Enfys Nest is there. And Enfys Nest is like, don't worry, I'm a freedom fighter. I'm actually part of a rebellion. Hello. And she's a woman? Actually, she's a young girl? What? Anyone can join the rebellion. And they're like, we gotta help him. We can't give this back to fucking... Dross? What's his name? Paul Bettany's character.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Something like that.
Crimson Gay.
What the fuck is his name? Dryden Voss.
Like the water.
Yeah. I was thinking Quinlan Voss. So I'm like, wait, that's not it. They're best friends. They're brothers. So they were like, we're not going to do it.
So Woody Harrelson's character is like, all right,
I'm going to leave. You have fun. But really, he goes and betrays them.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to go hide out on Tatooine. He just, goes in.
And he goes, big shot gangster, putting together a crew. Mm-hmm. Pierre quotes that all the fucking time.
Does he?
Yeah, he'll just be like, big shot gangster, putting together a crew.
Yeah.
That's it. He'll just say that.
I see.
It's a fun line to say. There's a lot of fun lines in Star Wars.
All week I've been misremembering a line from the Andor trailer where there's like a part where he said...
Oh yeah, the Andor trailer came out.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
It looks like... Visually, it looks spectacular, especially in comparison to like the last couple shows. I will say, I'm a little sad that I feel like I didn't see any weird, freaky guys. You know, I love my weird, freaky guys in Star Wars, and I just felt like I saw exclusively humans in the trailer, or like almost all humans.
Yeah. Hopefully as maybe some nooks and crannies in the series, we'll get some.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge that on the trailer. I'll wait until I watch it.
But there's a line in the trailer is like, they wouldn't know, or they wouldn't think that someone like me's in their house. But I've been misremembering it as like, the Empire's got a rat in their house. So I've been just going around all week. There's a rat in their house.
There's a rat in the house. Mouse Hunt.
Mouse Hunt. Andor edition. I'm excited for that show though.
Yeah.
I
think it got pushed back a couple weeks.
It got pushed back like
to mid-September.
3 weeks or something like that. Which
we got She-Hulk coming out
soon. Huh?
She-Hulk comes out soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. So Solo, they kill Dryden Voss. Kira kills him. Mm-hmm. And is like, okay, go away now. I'll be right out. I'm going to steal some money.
Stole the
so he's like, I'm going to go get the coaxium to give back to Enfys Nest. And she's like, okay, I'm going to take this loot. But then she just fucking leaves.
Yeah.
And he's like sad.
Talks to the true runner of Crimson Dawn,
which is Darth Maul. What?
Yeah. And I don't know if that ever amounts to anything in Rebels. I don't know what he's doing.
Crimson Reign was in the comic books. Kira just showed up. I haven't read it. I'm going to read it once it's trade. But there was a big event. Like the latest Star Wars event was Crimson Reign. So I'm guessing something happens in that.
Yeah. Hopefully, if they do a Lando series, they cover some of the.
There's so much. Like I think Crimson Dawn, from what I know about it, it is a cool gang. There are some cool stuff around it. Like you could do stuff, and I just love more Maul. I need more Maul content. He's great.
Yeah, and I feel like the kind of syndicate side of the Star Wars galaxy has been relatively unexplored from what I've seen. I mean,
at least for a while.
I haven't watched Mandalorian or anything like that. So,
and then he shoots first, Woody Harrelson, because he's about to shoot him. He's like, let me tell you one last lesson. Han just fucking shoots him. He's like, that was a good thing to do.
Somewhere George Lucas is out there crying.
No. But yeah, that's Solo. I think Solo's good. I really enjoy Solo. I really like the tone of it. It feels like a big swashbuckling adventure across space. Sure, it doesn't feel like the stakes are very high in it, and it's just kind of a weird idea for a movie. It's like, let's talk about how Han Solo got depressed and got his house.
Yeah.
And how he met his funny Wookiee friend.
The very end, he goes back and rematches.
And he does. And he steals the card before, so he can't cheat. And he wins fair and square.
Yes. Except for, I think, in the actual original trilogy, they say he cheated or something. I think there's a line.
I think Lando says that, and he's like, I did not. Which Lando's, he'd be like that. But yeah, I really like the tone of Solo. It really feels like I feel like sometimes Star Wars can be a bit intense with its world-ending prophecies, and it's nice to just have something so disconnected from everything else, besides Maul showing up.
Yeah.
I do think it does feel like two different directing teams made it. It does feel disjointed at times. I think that Dryden Voss is kind of a whatever character. I don't feel like there's a lot of big presence for a villain in this. I like Kira as a character. I like L337. I like the design of Enfys Nest. I like what they represent. I like seeing different sects of the rebellion before they really unite. But I feel like Enfys Nest gets absolutely no character, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that character's fucking cool. It's kind of like the Knights of Ren. I'm like, those look sick as hell. And it's like, and nothing? Cool. Yeah. They show up.
Right. No, I feel that.
They were literally a biker gang.
Yeah. I'd say I think I liked it more than the first time I saw it. I view this primarily as just kind of a fun camp movie. Not really anything extravagant. It's not highbrow Star Wars by any means, but it's Star Wars, so not a lot of it's very highbrow in the first place, unless you like diving into some of the deep corners of like the Clone Wars, but there's stuff in this movie that I absolutely fucking makes my eyes want to roll back into the back of my skull. Like,
don't say it. It's the best line on the entire series.
No, it's not.
It's so funny.
It's so bad.
It's so fun. It's bad, but it's so funny because
people.
I don't got it. Han Solo. Yeah. It's so fucking funny, dude. I will argue to the day I die that is a funny fucking line.
Yeah, it's just
it's eye rolling.
The humor didn't land with.
That's fair. I get it, but I love that line.
And there's little moments throughout where it's just like, really, like, well, Chewbacca is way too long of a name. It's like, I don't need to know why you call him Chewie.
There are those types of lines that I'm much more annoyed at. I'm like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
I'm like, just call him Chewie because he's your friend.
Yeah, it's just like, you don't have to explain that.
You don't need to make this a microaggression by being like, well, that's too long of a name. That just makes you sound racist.
Right.
But like some of the original trilogy, like, you walking furball. Like, that doesn't seem very kind.
Yeah. No, he's definitely...
You're how old?
Definitely rough around the edges, for sure. But, this movie's alright. I
do really like that train sequence. I just love train sequences. But I think that track that they play, the Marauders' arrival, is really, really good. But in general, I just like that train heist a lot.
Yeah, it's
especially because they just fuck it up and die.
Yeah. No, it's definitely one of those kind of, you think you're going to be set up with these characters for the rest of the movie and then just pulls the rug out from under you. But, I think you would give this one 7.
I'm at an 8.
Okay.
I think you're at a 6.
Yeah, probably a low 6. High 5, low 6.
Good. Let's talk about Rogue One.
Rogue One. I really didn't like this one when I first saw it. I thought it was boring and all the characters were quite wooden.
Guess what? I really liked this one when I first saw it. I think of the 5 we watched today, it is my least favorite. I have a feeling that outside of episode 9, this might be my least favorite. I still really like this movie.
Yeah.
But I do think that most of the characters are just fucking nothing. And it's really annoying because I think this movie is so fucking good to look at. I think it looks gorgeous. I love Scarif. I love all the different places they go to.
Yeah.
I think the directing's really, really good, and the script is really, really not.
Yeah, no, because, like, I think I had an easier time with it this time, because, like, I'm a bit more familiar with some of the other characters, like Saw.
Yeah.
I have a bit more context for his character now.
I think seeing Rogue One, and that's the thing with big continuity things, like seeing Rogue One without knowing Saw, I'm like, what the fuck is this character? But seeing Rogue One, like, knowing Saw as well as I know, I'm like, hell yeah!
Yeah. I actually liked this one a lot more this time.
Okay.
I think a lot of my issues with it still stand. Like, I still don't think that the main character is, like, got a whole lot going on. I see what they were trying to do, but I never felt emotionally connected enough with it. I think the character who obviously kind of takes most of the spotlight is Andor.
Yeah.
And even then, like, most of the time, he doesn't feel that far above just kind of like a Han Solo port for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one scene that kept me, like, ticking the whole time, though, is the fact that he killed that guy, like, very early on in the movie, because it's like, that
with
action,
no hesitation too.
Yeah, because that action, like, really spoke volumes for his character, and I really wish that they would have played more with, like, that kind of dark side.
That's what I'm hoping for in Andor.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably going to be the case, especially if they're going for, like, 5 seasons or whatever they were talking about their plan is, because it's like the 5 years leading up to Rogue One.
Oh, yeah.
A season a year, but
But yeah, I would pretty much agree. I like Jyn. I like what they want to do with Jyn Erso. I think they just don't really hit the mark with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Andor is a good character, but I think that's mostly because Diego Luna is really, really good in this.
Yeah.
I think K2SO's okay as for like a droid character. But like the Chirrut and I don't even remember his name, the two gay lovers. They just
Wait, who?
Chirrut is the blind monk and his best friend.
The temple guardians.
Yeah, the gun guy. I don't
remember his name.
Like Baze?
Yeah, his death felt pretty useless. Like, every death had, like, their thing that they, like, accomplished to get to, except for his. His was just like, I'm just gonna walk out into the middle of this field and get shot.
Yeah, and it's just like, Donnie Yen is in this movie, and Donnie Yen's so fucking good, and it's like, you give him a character that's, like, nothing. And I love explorations of the Force that aren't just, like, Jedi and Sith, and they do almost nothing with him.
Yeah.
He's and his buddy...
comic relief.
Yeah, and his buddy they do even less with. He's like, I have a gun. Mm-hmm. I feel pretty similarly about Bodhi, who's the
pilot?
Yeah, who should have a great arc, because I fucking love Imperials that, like, defect and stuff. I think that's one of my favorite, like, things in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's Riz Ahmed, who's, I think, so good at acting, and he's good in this, but it's just like, it's not enough. I really like his final scene, like, that's good.
Yeah. I think they didn't play enough, because, like, I mean, Saw puts him in that thing that's, like, against that thing that's supposed to, like, make him lose his mind. Yeah. But then from that point on, aside from the fact that he seemed kind of anxious, I really
there's one scene where he's like, I'm crazy, and then he's fine.
Yeah, so I think that they could have played that up for more tension. Maybe, like, he has, like, a breakdown or something in that final scene where he's trying to, like, do the thing, and it adds for some good, like, tension in the scene. I don't know, something. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I probably would have, like, maybe removed a couple of those side characters and put more screen time into developing maybe an arc between Andor and what's Jin?
Yeah, like, I think what they have is interesting, and then it's just absolutely not enough.
Yeah. I like that it wasn't romantic.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the final scene, they hug instead of kiss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It felt like a nice... Yeah. That's refreshing. And
it kind of feels like maybe in the future they would have had a romantic... I like those ideas. Like, maybe there would be a future for them, but in war, there is no future for us, you know? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of most annoyed at this movie because I think it has the potential to be so fucking good, and it just kind of drops the ball in that script and those characters. On the opposite side, though, I think Galen Erso is really good. But that's mostly because I think Mads Mikkelsen is so fucking good as an actor. Yeah. I was just like, hell yeah.
I think
the plot device is kind of gay, dumb. I was going to say gay? I think I was just thinking about kissing Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, I think his performance moments are really good. Him, like every other character in this script, just not a lot there.
It also doesn't really feel like it was needed to, like, be her dad. Like, there's just a lot. I'm like, this doesn't... Yeah. Jyn Erso also doesn't really feel like she needs to be in the movie. Like, it feels like it could have just been about Andor, which I'm annoyed about, because I want to like Jyn Erso as a character.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, aside from the fact that she's just, like, conveniently parked in the daughter spot between these two very important characters that they're trying to, like, find out what this interaction was that leaks, you know, the Death Star. Aside from her acting as, like, basically just the welcome mat for the rebellion to top to Saw in that one scene. I mean, I guess technically speaking, in terms of, like, what the movie tries to deliver, they wouldn't have been able to do it without her, because her name's Stardust, and probably, like, Saw wouldn't have been receptive to them and stuff like that. But
I'm like, these are all things that you wrote into the plot. You didn't need to.
Yeah, it's like you could have found, like, an interesting way to, like, break through those, like, barriers that. And
it just feels like more effort was put into the script on making her needed as a plot device than making her into a character,
Which there's some stuff, but it's, like, really subtle.
Yeah.
Like, obviously she's got, like, kind of abandonment issues, and I feel like they tried to play into that with, like, Andor, like, coming back in that last scene and not, like, abandoning her. He was, like, dead. or thought to be dead. So it's like, I don't know. I think that they could have played up like maybe like more of the Han Solo thing where it's like, I'm not going to really help out on this last thing, and then like pulls in for the heroic, like, I'm not going to leave you behind kind of thing. I don't know, but I guess that would have been pretty similar to like A New Hope with Han Solo, even more so than it already kind of is, just in vibes. So it's like, I don't know. It's an interesting movie. I did like it a lot more this time than the first time I watched it. But
I also do, from what I've been saying, I do really, really like Ben Mendelsohn as Krennic. I think Krennic's a pretty fun villain.
I think he works. He gets his side, or he gets across like the kind of like
I like whiny villains, and he's a whiny little bitch.
Yeah, someone who's trying to climb up the power ladder by the most petty ways necessary. It's like pretty in tune with the Empire.
Yeah, because you also see Tarkin and Vader both being extremely petty in this, and I think it's very funny. I do think the final scene with Vader, like, I remember watching that in theaters, being like, that was cool.
Yeah.
I do think that's a very cool scene.
Yeah, no, it's still pretty cool. Fucking Tarkin's head looks like a fucking, like, PS4.
Yeah, like, I think both him and Leia, they look like a PS5 game, maybe? Like a launch title. They look good for a video game. I think Tarkin looks better simply because he has so many, like sunspots and, like, age. Like, he's older. He's an older person, so he has lots of wrinkles and stuff. So adding that to the skin just naturally makes it. But the, like, lack of translucency and, like, Leia, it's like that. That looks a little rough.
Yeah.
Like.
And it's interesting because she's only on screen for, like, 2 seconds, whereas, like,
Tarkin is, like, a character.
A small character. But I wonder if they're going to do that again in Andor.
I don't know. I could see them doing it. Honestly, the guy who plays Tarkin in it, like before they do it, I've seen pictures of him. I honestly think they could just put him in makeup and that would be better. Yeah. Like, I know you don't really like recasting characters, but if they're going to do a prequel and they want Tarkin to be a character, I think that's the better idea.
I think if, honestly, just my stance ethically, I think it's better to recast a character than
to CG in a character.
Yes. Now, if you want to do some, like, maybe light CG to make them look more like that person, as long as it's distinctive, I think, like, what they did in Halloween Kills with, like, Loomis, I thought that was a pretty interesting. Because, like, it looked like him, but it also didn't. So I thought that was kind of an interesting hybrid of the two. But, maybe it looks more like him than I remember. I don't know. I only saw that movie the once in theaters. I'll rewatch it before the new one comes out. But, I hope they don't. I also don't really think Tarkin's a character that needs a whole lot of, like, extra.
Yeah, he's a good villain in episode 4. He's a great villain in episode 4.
He's got a book.
He's got a book, which I've heard is great. Yeah. He's gay. Yeah. I still think I really like this movie, but it's just on the weaker end for me.
Yeah. I like this one quite a bit, but yeah, there's flaws definitely. I think that Disney era Star Wars, outside of, I think The Last Jedi is just, like, looks so fucking good. Like, there's so many shots. I think outside of that, this is the best looking Star Wars movie from, like, the newer era. I think it looks gorgeous. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
I think most of the new movies look pretty good, though.
Yeah.
There are a couple shots in Solo I also really, really like. I do like the horrible Eldritch monster. Like, I do think that scene looks really cool.
I don't really think there's much in Solo that visually really, like, floored me.
That's yeah, like that, yeah.
But I do like how nice and almost, like, beautiful they make the fucking, like, planet destructions look in this movie. Yeah. I think that's a nice touch. Something you couldn't really do with 77 special effects. Yeah. Oh, well, special editions, let's add a ring.
Hell yeah.
But, this, still a good movie. Just definitely a little light on the content side in terms of, like, character. And honestly, like, the plot's pretty rich. So you could probably, if you're just, like, into plot-driven movies, you probably like this one.
Yeah. I do think this is a pretty fun lead up into New Hope. Like, I do think it adds a lot to the original trilogy. Mm-hmm. Just like I think like Clone Wars adds a lot to like the prequels. Like, I do like this supplemental material because I think Star Wars as a universe has a lot of things that can be enriched by like just lore dumps.
Mm. Oh, for sure.
But yeah, I think this movie's still really good. I think you would give this time around, I think you'd give it a 7.
Yeah, like a low 7.
Maybe a high 6 like that.
Yeah. I'm guessing you're at an 8.
I'm also at a 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what the fuck? I give a Star Wars movie a 7? Pretty wild. Yeah.
Alright. Now it's time to talk about
Star Wars.
The original.
I was watching this time around just thinking, like, what if this was, like, one of the first blockbusters I saw? Like, what if I saw this in theaters? And it is, like, this movie...
It's the blockbuster.
Yeah, this movie is really good.
Oh, yeah.
I think, because of my taste, it's my least favorite of the original trilogy.
I mean, I get why. I mean, in terms of its plot, it's just a standard hero's journey. Yeah. It's just executed really well.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic movie. Mm-hmm. But you know, it doesn't have lots of funny little creatures in it.
I don't know.
It has a lot, but like episode 6.
Well, compared to episode 6, but compared to like episode 5, it's definitely got like
that's fair. Which is funny because I think episode 5 is just phenomenal, but it's like no funny little creatures.
Yeah,
Little Hood's in it though.
Yeah. We'll get to episode
5. But A New Hope, I always forget like how much of it is spent on. It's only spent on like 2 places for the vast majority of it, and then they go to fucking Yavin for like 5 minutes, and then they fucking blow up the Death Star.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of it is spent on Tatooine and then the Death Star itself. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe sometimes when I watch it, I can get a little... it doesn't feel as, like, adventurous as some of the later entries, where you're just, like, sprawling over the galaxy. Like in episode 5 or episode 6. Like
I kind of like that about... I like how quaint it feels.
No, that's fair. I think it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Mm-hmm. It is weird going from Rogue One, where they do go to like a bunch of different places, to this, where it's like, I'm sitting on a farm. Now I'm on a space station. Mm-hmm. Now the movie's over.
Yeah, and I mean, the 2 very different tones. One's like a borderline, like just like war spy movie.
I do think Rogue One at times just takes itself too seriously as well.
Yeah,
it just feels like it's trying a little too hard to be bleak. I think Star Wars in itself is just intrinsically bleak.
Yeah.
As a concept, looking at everything in it. So, give it a little life. I think Rogue One, it tries to have some comedy, but I don't think the comedy really lands very well in that movie. While this, I think, is genuinely funny, but I think that watching these movies, it's so funny how good Mark Hamill is, like, in later entries, and in this, he's like, I love him in this, but he's just like a whiny little, like, he's just whining.
Oh, yeah.
And his acting style is so fucking different, because he's like,
No, I know what you mean.
And then those 6 years, in episode 6, he's so good. And in this, he's good, but in a whole different way.
Yeah.
It feels like more raw and untapped. I think it actually works really well for his character, too.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I love how whiny he is in this. I think Harrison Ford at this time was so fucking charismatic. Because Han Solo's a fucking dickhead. He's the worst.
Yeah.
We love him.
100%.
And I think Carrie Fisher's really, really, really good. I love her. I think she's great as Leia.
Yeah.
And, Darth Vader's a weirdo. I love him. He's a fucking weirdo. Mm-hmm. Me and him today were talking. It's like, it's so weird that, like, people were like, Anakin acts so weird. I'm like, have you ever watched the fucking original trilogy? Darth Vader's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah. No.
But I love him. I love, like, he walks in, he's just, like, posing, looking around, he's like, He's just, Darth Vader is so fucking petty, too. And he just, like, chokes people through a computer screen, and he's like, you underestimate me, and then just snaps someone's neck. It's just...
Okay. Well, to be fair, they did shit talk his old dead religion.
Yeah, that's true.
The Force, that's just an old...
And he's like, oh yeah, watch this. What am I?
That seemed like an old dead religion to you? Yeah, I didn't think so. But, yeah, this movie's a lot of fun.
I also think it's so funny because, like, it is such a kind of fun adventure, and then Alec Guinness is just, like, so serious about the role.
Mm. Yeah. High class actor.
Which I think, like, Harrison Ford is also the same way, but he was never really opposed to, like, kind of franchise films and stuff, even though he fucking hated this later on. Like, I don't want to play fucking Han Solo.
Yeah. Which is kind of a shame, because it's like, I mean, I don't think it would have ever expanded further than the 3 films for his character. I mean, obviously it did eventually.
Yeah.
But I think because, like, obviously his character didn't really, like, do a whole lot in Return of the Jedi, which we'll get to, but I always think of that as kind of a shame. Kind of a shame that he, like, approached it with that attitude, because it's like, I don't know. You know how many people would, like, fucking, like, give their nuts to play Han Solo? Like,
well, it's so funny because Alec Guinness was, like, the same way about Obi-Wan. He, like, fucking hated that people remembered him for just that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But even me, like, I watch a lot of movies, and I watch a lot of older movies, and I'm like, I think I've seen maybe, like, 2 other Alec Guinness movies.
Yeah, I haven't.
I think he's in Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I never watched that one. But yeah. No, I don't... I've probably seen him in stuff, because I've seen a lot of movies, but nothing that comes to mind, because he probably didn't have the fucking Obi-Wan.
He is in Lawrence of Arabia, which, you know, I've thought about watching, but I'm just like, do I want to watch a 4-hour movie where every single person's in brownface?
Yeah.
Apparently it's like one of the best movies ever made. I'm like, can a movie where everyone's in brownface be one of the best movies ever made?
Well, you know how people like to claim movies from that era are like some of the best movies ever made, and then they turn out to be like fucking not great. So it's like, I mean, sometimes they are, like, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if that one would be one that would hold up quite as well.
That's one of those that I'll probably eventually pick for the podcast, because, you know, we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. So.
Oh yes,
episode 5 billion.
Oh wow, 5 billion. There's not even that many weeks in our lifetime.
Well, we're going to become cyborgs.
I see.
We're going to live forever.
Oh, indeed. But yes. Yeah, so the plot of this one, real simple. You all know it. Luke Skywalker, farm boy.
He needs to get some power converters.
Yeah, needs to get some power converters. His uncle buys 2 droids who just so happen to have a message for an old hermit who lives on his planet named Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Ben Kenobi as he's known.
Why the fuck would he only change his first name?
I don't know. Why wouldn't they change Luke's name? Like,
literally.
There are things that don't add up.
But I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Cool.
The original trilogy is full of inconsistencies to the great.
But they're fun.
Yeah. Because, like...
sometimes movies just need to be fun.
Yeah, because there's, like, a line where Leia says that she remembers her mom. And I read, like, an interview with George Lucas where it's, like, his original, like, headcanon for that point was, like, no, like, Padme did live and go, like, live on fucking Alderaan for, like, the first 2 years of her life before she was, like, assassinated or died or something. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, which doesn't... when I had originally watched those lines, like, even as a kid, I'm like, oh, okay. If this just shows that, like, Leia had the Force and, like, she remembered through, like, Force visions.
I don't remember my mom.
Yeah. And I'm just like... but then I read that same article, I'm like, oh... okay, so George was just making up as he goes, because I'm like, oh, that's cool. That I was like, in that moment, I'm like, that's cool. This is like hinting that she has the Force, and in some way she might even be stronger than Luke in the Force. And then George was like, no, I don't know. I was just kind of writing.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like the brother-sister kiss, like, you know.
Yeah. Pardon me. It's like...
it has always known. And like...
it's like, I hope
excuse
not.
Me? Maybe not
that first
part
was
wanted to kiss him.
Yeah, that first part was like, maybe like you can grant that to being like, that was like 10 minutes after they met.
Yeah, I don't actually. I don't actually find the kiss itself that problematic. I think the more problematic line is like, "I've always known." I'm like, what?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I like to chalk that up to maybe she just wasn't thinking of that moment at that time, because it's like, you know, fucking hang out with a person, you might not remember the first day in its entirety, but it's like from that point on, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, he does the thing. His parents or his uncle and aunt are killed, so he's like, I'm gonna go help you. So they go, and they're gonna go to like Alderaan or whatever. They're gonna try to save the princess, but then they get trapped on the Death Star.
Yeah, they show up to Alderaan, and it's been blown to smithereens, and they go
get
to the moon.
Sucked into the Death Star.
That's no moon.
That's no moon.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Classic. There's so many lines in this, you're like, that's a fun line. And you don't, like, if you've never seen a Star Wars movie, and it's like, somebody leans over to you and they're like, they're going to put that in every fucking movie.
Yes.
Which I like, but
McClunky.
McClunky, I love. I don't like the Han shot first thing. Most of the, like, ideas that they put in the special editions, I'm actually fine with. I do not like the Han shot first thing. I do like McClunky.
I mean, I don't care. I don't care if Han shoots first or not. As long as there's no annoying fucking CGI.
Yeah, I think that's the issue.
But what it is now, where they both kind of like shoot at the same time or whatever, it's like, okay, whatever.
Well, he still shows his neck fucking...
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, yeah. It's like a split second, but he just goes... his head pretty much just teleports to the side.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I'm like, couldn't you have just reshot that with a double or something?
Or better yet, just maybe don't have him dodge the shot with his neck. Maybe just have Greedo miss or something.
Literally.
Yeah, let's think. Yeah.
But
makes the shot. Makes the goal.
Yeah. Obi-Wan dies on the Death Star, but he becomes more powerful than he could ever imagine.
Yeah. He gives himself over to the Force.
Yeah. So then he can show up in Luke, and he's like, Luke, close your eyes. Trust me.
And apparently they shot like 2 different endings to this. One with the Force and one where he uses the computer system, which I found interesting. Because obviously the Force is like more thematic.
Yeah.
It makes sense. So it's like, if they had just done the computer system one, that would have been like, I don't think it would have resonated as much. I certainly would have bitched about it. But
you should have used the Force here.
Yeah, what the hell? But yeah, and then they all get medals.
Except Chewbacca.
Han Solo gets his credits to pay Jabba back. He does not. As we will find out in the next movie. But yeah, that's A New Hope.
Yeah. I think there are so many iconic shots in this too, like Luke looking off onto the twin suns.
Oh, yeah.
So fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Looks incredible. And like, I think these movies, for being made in the 70s, even if you're not watching the remasters, they look really good. And they...
Oh, yeah. Fucking... And yeah, there are definitely like bits and pieces here where it's like they'll turn on a lightsaber and it'll obviously skip a couple frames, even in the remasters. But
yeah, and it's like they're like later on in other movies, like when they're walking around Cloud City, you can see like their faces kind of being blocked out by the actual Cloud City. And it's like, yeah, but it's just like this.
I'll take
technological like things you can't do. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll take that though over the original. Unremastered Cloud City any day, because there was nothing. It was just fucking a bunch of gray walls because they didn't have any windows or anything because budget. So that's one of the big remaster changes that I actually really like.
Yeah, because I think Cloud City looks. I guess we'll talk about it in a second. But Cloud City looks awesome.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, I think this movie, it started like arguably one of the biggest franchises. Not arguably, one of the biggest franchises of all time.
It was like like this and Jaws were like some of the first big blockbusters like this.
And they're still making Star Wars stuff. They're not making more Jaws stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
People call Star Wars the movie that killed cinema.
I say it's the movie that created... Not really. I do think there have been bad repercussions because of Star Wars, but there's also been really, really great repercussions.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, you can't really...
You could say that about any big movie. You could say that Dracula killed cinema.
It's like comparable to saying, like, having access to the internet ruined humanity. It's like, yeah, there's some fucking cons, but there's also so many pros that it's like... It's more nuanced than one way or the other. But
and I think there are so many directors that I fucking love that have been directly influenced from Star Wars that I don't think would be working without it. Like,
definitely not. I mean, fucking James Cameron, like, quit his job as a trucker to become a filmmaker after watching A New Hope, and Ridley Scott, I mean, as fucking weird as that guy is, fucking, he also was inspired by Star Wars to make Aliens, so it's like, you know, without Star Wars, we wouldn't have a lot of great shit, so.
But yeah, I think you would give this movie, ooh, this is going to be a tough one. I think you're going to be at an 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a god.
Yeah. I also logged it as that like a couple weeks ago before I picked it for the podcast, so I was like, I think that you're going to give this one a 9.
I am.
I'm a god.
Yes, you are. I'm so proud of you. All right, let's talk about what many say is the best Star Wars film.
It's the Spider-Man 2 of Star Wars.
Yeah, I fucking love movies about failure.
Yeah.
It's why I love Empire. It's why I love Spider-Man 2. It's why I love The Last Jedi, you know? Mm-hmm. I love movies about, like, just overcoming insurmountable failure.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of failure in Episode 5. There's betrayal. Characters are just, like, going all over the place. It starts with Luke almost fucking dying.
Yeah.
Because he got into a car crash.
That's what they say. I've yet to see any evidence of this car crash, though.
I mean, he has a scar.
Hollywood prosthetics.
That was just to build buzz.
Yeah.
They needed to build buzz for the second Star Wars.
Lucas actually suffered from writer's block, so they needed to kick the sequel a couple years down the road, so they just blamed it on a fake car accident.
But yeah, I really love this movie. The Hoth scenes, I think, are great. I love the Wampas. There are some weird... I love the creature design of, like, the Wampa. I like the droid designs.
Tauntauns.
The Tauntauns, I think, are great.
Classic.
I love the little stop motion for them.
Yeah, I like... Because, like, in later Star Wars, you can tell, like... that it's, like... This is like a space camel. It's just a camel with, like, an extra hump, and it's got, like, a lizard face. Whereas, like, Tauntauns, like, they feel like their own thing. Like,
yeah, they feel like if I saw that in real life, I'd be like, I feel like that's an animal that could exist, but I can't think of an animal that looks like a
It's like a cross between, like, a kangaroo and a fucking ram.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I think that's really creative compared to, like, sometimes I think Star Wars can be a little lazy with the alien creations. Sometimes they can be really creative, though. Tauntauns are an example where I think they did a decent job. But, yeah, fucking... So, Rebel Alliance cornered on Hoth.
Yeah, because it starts with failure. It starts with, like, yeah, we got the Death Star, but the Empire's still the Empire.
Yeah.
So we're fucking dying. Tarkin died, but that's not... He was just a Grand Moff. He wasn't the Emperor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, they get cornered on Hoth. They eventually escape, but Luke, almost dies.
Yeah, Luke almost dies. Han Solo comes to save him. Then they get split up again. Luke gets a vision in his near-death experience.
To go to the Dagobah system.
Yes, he has to go to the Dagobah system. So he flees. Meanwhile, Han, Chewie, Leia, C-3PO, they're all going on a misadventure. Yeah.
I just realized that when I was talking about, like, yeah, there aren't a lot of funny creature designs in Episode 5. I forgot about Yoda, because when I was thinking about him, I'm just like, yeah, that's just a person. I forgot it was like a made-up creature.
Yeah.
In my head, Yoda was just lumped in with the human characters. I'm like, yeah, that's what he looks like.
Well, Yoda is, I mean, compared to, like, some of the random stuff you'll see in A New Hope. Yoda's a constant throughout Star Wars, so like obviously you're more familiar with him, so I could see that happen.
But I'm just like, that's Yoda. He plays the Frank Oz is Yoda. Sometimes I forget that Yoda's a puppet, and I think that's just what Frank Oz looks like. Yeah. But I fucking love Yoda in this movie.
Yeah, Yoda's fucking great.
He's just so unhinged. He's like hitting R2-D2 with a stick. And I think it's actually so much funnier that canonically they know each other. And R2 remembers all these things and just doesn't say it to anyone. Mm. And Yoda knows who R2 is and just is fucking hitting him with a stick. Yeah. Some people might say that these are like plot holes. I think this makes it much funnier and in line with both of these characters.
Yeah. Fucking... What's it called? Yeah, I forgot how much Yoda, when he's doing his little, like, unhinged, just, I'm a random fucking hermit on this planet. He sounds so much like Fozzie when he's doing that. Because, I mean, it's Frank Oz, but, like, I forgot how much the Yoda voice originally just sounded like Fozzie Bear. Whereas, like, nowadays, like, that part of his character is kind of, like, not there. Because he's usually more of the stoic wise.
Because he's like... And then he goes and lives on a swamp planet for 10 years, for 15 years, and now he's like, I'm literally crazy.
Yeah. And it's more, I mean, you get cued into the fact that it's like an act that he's testing Luke to see his patience level, which isn't very high. Understandably.
He's like, my friends are dying, I need to help.
Yeah, he's like, die. Yeah, he's like, don't go save them. That's exactly they'll just convince you to go to the dark side.
He's like, I have to save my friends. But yeah, he trains with Yoda for a bit and then gets a vision that his friends are going to Cloud City and are going to die. So he's like, I gotta leave. And they're like, don't leave, Luke. And he's like, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
And he does. And they're like, you're literally going to fail if you do. And he does. Mm-hmm. But I think he still made the right choice. Like, and that's why I think Luke is a better person and like the only person to be able to defeat Vader, because at the end of the day, Star Wars is about, actually using your heart. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. Everyone else is telling him, you gotta kill Vader. You gotta give in. You gotta kill Vader.
Like, I can save him.
Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan and Yoda are like, you should just murder him. And I'm like, that's not...
Vader killed your father. That's not true.
And then episode 6 goes, it kind of is, which I agree with the sentiment, but that's also not how you tell someone that. You don't just go, no, he killed your dad.
Yeah, no, I think I was right. I was in the clear. You could be like, yeah, I didn't explain it fully, but, instead...
You weren't ready, but he's like, no, I was kind of right.
Yeah.
But yeah, episode 5, everyone else goes to Cloud City. They're like, we should ask Lando for help. Lando is like, yeah, I'll help you, but Darth Vader's already arrived, and he's like, my bad. Mm-hmm. And they all get captured, and Luke comes to save them. And they break out. Luke does not save them.
Yeah, they have to save Luke.
Yeah. Han Solo gets put into carbonite and whisked away by
Boba Fett.
Tamora Morrison.
Yeah, and Boba Fett. Well, I'll save my Boba Fett thoughts for the bulk of where his character is in Return of the Jedi. But, yes. So, yeah. Ends in failure, but there's still hope. Oh, and also, Darth Vader's Luke's father.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, good. I think it's a good plot twist. I mean, obviously, it's something that everybody knows now. I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone that you could like show this movie to who would genuinely find that shocking.
Yeah.
You'd have to like show it to like your kid before he ever goes to school or something. But yeah, what's it called? I think that it's a pretty good plot twist. I think if you pay attention to these movies, it becomes pretty apparent pretty early on, even before they drop the line, because it's like...
But I think watching these movies for the first time and, not having very good access to, like, home media, because even in, like, the 70s and 80s, you don't have a ton.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of these people might have only seen Star Wars once in theaters, and you're probably not you're being engrossed in the story.
Yeah.
So I think it would hit you. A lot of these people, they'd be like, what the fuck? I remember there was... I I think it's in Pitch Perfect where they go like, oh, of course I know Vader's his father. Vader is Dutch for father or something. I'm like, it doesn't mean he's the main character's father. It's supposed to be like he's the father of the dark side. Like he's the bit. I'm like, that's a stupid line.
Yeah.
Here I am dunking on Pitch Perfect in our Star Wars review. Oh.
Yeah.
Classic movie.
Classic.
But God, that line is iconic, and like no, that's impossible.
Yeah.
I really, really love this movie. It's depressing, but in a good way, and it does end in hope. And that final shot, looking out into space, is good. It's a good lot. It's a good shot.
Oh yeah.
And the in general, like I love the look of Cloud City, and I love the fight with the Vader on the platform. And I'm like, why the fuck is this thing here? This doesn't make any sense. Why is this just hollow?
Right.
But I think it's great. I love
trash.
There's a lot of things in Star Wars that make absolutely no sense from like architectural standpoints, but I'm like that. I don't care.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, they jumped through random glass window and ended up out here into this random spot.
Yeah, I'm like, where the fuck are they? But
yeah,
that whole sequence is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like Harrison Ford in this. I think this is like the best Han Solo stuff. Is in this movie. And I think Leia has a lot of cool stuff too. And Yoda's amazing. Yeah. Classic. I think this movie's lit just perfect. I fucking love this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think... I mean, obviously you can't... I don't think it's like a movie that you can just jump into. Like, you need new hope in order for a lot of this to, like, really...
Yeah, you could probably watch this movie and be like, that's a good movie. But you don't, you know.
I mean, obviously, if you're familiar with it, you could just watch Empire. Like, same way I could just put on Spider-Man 2 and be like, yes. I don't necessarily have
I'm watching peak cinema right now.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have to rewatch the first one because I'm familiar with it. But yeah, I think it does just such a good job building on what the first one left, which I think is impressive. Like, the first one's kind of like a done deal.
Yeah, the first one, like, because they didn't know. They didn't know if it was going to be a hit, and then it was like the biggest hit fucking ever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it feels so cohesive, shockingly. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of sequels to things that weren't necessarily planned to be like a trilogy or anything, just feel maybe unnecessary or a little forced, while I think Empire flows so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely.
Which is weird because it also kind of starts, it's just like, you know how we won? Not really. Like, that's the opening crawl, but it works. Mm-hmm. I think that's what they were kind of trying to do with Palpatine's return. It just doesn't work.
Somehow. Returned. Because
you can just easily be like, yeah, they destroyed the space station, but they're still a giant empire. You can't be like, this old guy just showed up again and he has a giant army. Like, that's not something you can just kind of answer away with text.
No.
You gotta have the Fortnite audio. Yeah, I think you would give this movie a 9. A 10? An 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You would give this one a 10.
I would.
Yeah.
Alright. Return of the Jedi. Joe Yowza. Cy Snoodles, Max Rebo, Droopy McCool.
All the classics.
I fucking love Jabba.
Jabba's fun. Jabba's palace.
There's so many freaks in this movie.
Yeah.
I love the creature design. It makes sense why this was my favorite of the original trilogy growing up, because there's just so many things that I'm like, look at these little freaks.
Yeah.
And look at these little cute guys. Like, I love Ewoks. I still love Ewoks. I think Ewoks are great.
Ewoks are fun.
I'm not a fan of the Ewok haters.
Yeah.
But yeah, episode 6, same deal. Death Star 2 is being made. Mm-hmm. Emperor's finally in it. He shows up very slightly in episode 5. I think changing that from the original Emperor they had was probably a good idea in the special edition.
Probably. The weird monkey eyes. Don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
I'm like, that looks a little silly. Plus, I think Ian McDermott is so fucking good.
Oh, yeah.
He's so good. You know, he was only like 30 in this movie. Yeah. Which makes sense. Like, he's in the prequels and he's only like 50. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. He's in the new ones. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, that was something I always... When I was a kid, I was like...
How'd they do that? Is that his dad?
But now when I'm watching, I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely like a 30-year-old. Yeah. Like, under a lot of makeup doing a voice. I think most of the time it's like pretty seamless, like his voice, but there's a couple points where it's like I can kind of hear the youth underneath, and it's like, yeah.
It looks like he's about to jump up and do a backflip.
Right.
I do also like it because he's trying to act old, so the way he like moves feels exaggerated. He's like good. He's like walking around like this, like perfect. Yes.
People fucking hate Wayland from Prometheus, but like Palpatine. What? But they're two pretty different.
But yeah, episode 6, I think, I still really, really love this movie. I think there are things behind the scenes that really annoy me. Like...
The Han Solo thing.
The Han Solo thing, but more like Carrie Fisher and like the Slave Leia costume. She was like super uncomfortable with it. Didn't want that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is really annoying because I think outside of that, I love the Jabba scenes in general. I love the yacht scene, and it's just like, why? Why?
Yeah.
Especially because when George Lucas talks about these movies, he's like, no, Leia's the main character. And the plot revolves around Leia. Like, she's the driving force of, like, the rebellion and stuff like that. I
see what he's trying to say, but I feel like that's just being, like, disingenuous.
I do agree with that. But she is such a huge part, and he seems to love her as a character. And I think some of it is sexism, and some of it is just like the like crazy artist having a vision for a character, being unwilling to like change anything for an actor, which is really annoying. But outside of that, I think the first, like, they spend a lot of time with Jabba. I forgot how much time. It's like 40 minutes or some shit.
Yeah,
I love all these scenes. I think it's very, very fun.
Yeah.
I do think that Han Solo doesn't do, like, a ton in this movie. I still think Harrison Ford's good in it, and I like some of his lines. I also like how much of a doofus he is in this movie. Like, he can't figure out that Leia's in love with him. He's like, you're in love with Luke, aren't you? She's like, yeah. Or she's like, you love him, don't you? She's like, yeah. He's like, fine, I'll pack up and leave. And she's like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, I do like that.
To be fair, she never told him.
Yeah.
So.
Like, he's my brother. And he's like, oh.
Oh.
He's like, wait a minute, you kissed him.
He's like, that means he's going to be my brother. But, man, I'd fucking kill for, like, a fucking Mark Hamill or, like, a Luke Skywalker Han Solo, just, like, brother-in-law movie where they just, like, I don't know, get into a brother-in-law adventure.
You go on a road trip, little Kylo's in the backseat.
That'd be interesting.
We're taking Kylo to boarding school.
It's Ben.
It is Ben, you're right.
They wouldn't call him Kylo. That's his Sith name.
We're taking little Sith Lord Kylo to the bus stop. Sending him to Darth Plagueis. I mean, Plagueis, yeah! I remember when episode 7 came out, they were like, that's Plagueis. People were like, that's Plagueis! That's gonna be Plagueis!
I mean, I didn't think it was going to be, but I mean...
That could have worked.
Yeah, it could have been something.
Plagueis should have been in episode 9 if they were gonna bring in, like, a random Sith Lord. Be like, it was Plagueis the whole time. Like, that would have worked better than Palpatine's back!
Yeah, Palpatine coming back. It's like, I don't think it would have been good regardless, but at least fucking build it up through the trilogy. Not just like a fucking last movie.
Well, I mean, it's funny because in this movie, he's not really built up. He's talked about at the very least, though.
I mean, they build him up in Empire, like they talk about.
Yeah, like, and they see him, but...
Yeah, so it's there.
It's just a little... It's smaller than you would expect, but it still works.
The whole time when you're watching, like, A New Hope, it's like... I mean, maybe not the whole. I guess it depends on the person, but you're like, this is an empire, so there's got to be an emperor.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they save Han Solo, Boba Fett, which it's still like just character design alone carried this character for years because he was like the most hyped. Like in the original, when we were growing up, when it was just the 6 core films and like Clone Wars and stuff, but like Boba Fett was like everybody's like, yes, Boba Fett's like the shit. He does nothing.
I actually love him for that.
Yeah,
I love that.
He's like flirting with some like ladies at Jabba's palace, and then
he just stands there.
Then he gets accidentally killed by Han Solo.
By blind Han Solo, which I love. I love when random background characters, and I'm just like, why do people love Boba so much? Which is so funny because they think he's so cool, and then Book of Boba Fett comes out, and I love his character in that, and he's like a real character, and people are like, he's not my Boba Fett. I'm like, who's your Boba Fett? The guy who doesn't talk and then dies?
Yeah, I think everyone just had this mental image of what they thought Boba Fett was in their head, and I think, I haven't seen it, but I think that like itch got scratched a lot by like The Mandalorian. I feel like.
Yeah, but even then, like, Mandalorian does become more goofy, and he's like, oh, my son, he's like walking around, he's a weirdo, you know.
I can't comment.
I think people just overstate coolness of characters, and if people do something goofy, they're like, that's not my character. Yeah. And they get their headcanons immediately in your head, which is funny because Jango Fett, I think, is just cooler than Boba because he does things.
Yeah.
And I think Tamura Morrison's really good. Mm-hmm. That's why I guess the new Boba stuff is very cool. We'll eventually watch that probably.
One day.
We'll see.
I need to because like the main thing that's kept me from watching The Mandalorian is the fact that I need to still watch the rest of the Clone Wars and Rebels. Not that I think it's like an absolute necessity to, but I know like it starts getting like little breadcrumbs to like Ahsoka and Thrawn get dropped in there, so it's like...
Yeah, it's funny because it's... my mom watched, like, Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, and she's like, who's the green lady?
The green lady?
It's Ahsoka's.
She's a green?
No.
I was going to say she's orange.
She's orange.
But, yeah. Let's see, what else? We're still on the Jabba's palace. The actress who plays, I don't know the name of the character, but the one who gets dropped into the monster pit, apparently they reshot like the scenes of her down in the pit like years later, and she looks like exactly the same. Like she did not look like she aged at all. Maybe it's the makeup on her face, but like I swear it's seamless, and it's like these shots were shot like 20, 30 years later, so it's like, oh.
I will say, I will argue that Jedi Rocks slaps so hard.
Jedi Rock.
That's the song that Cy Snoodles and Joe Yowza play in the remaster. I think that song's so good.
Is that? Yeah, no, I don't.
I fucking love that song.
I don't. I like the original where it's just in the background. She's just like...
I love both, but maybe it's because, like, playing Battlefront 2 as a kid... That song plays in, like, Mos Eisley whenever you're on there. And I listened to it so much as a kid. But it's just so ingrained in my head. I love that song.
Yeah, even when I was a kid,
maybe it's just because I love how weird Cy Snoodles looks. And I love Joe Yowza because it was like, this guy's naked.
Like, throughout the entire remastered, like, trilogy, there's no added CGI aliens. Well, there's some in...
They have the background, like, the dewbacks and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But for the most part, like, it all seems, like, pretty seamless, but then you just have, like, these, like...
Yeah, I think they're great.
2000 CG fucking models.
Yeah, they're great.
It's just like, oh, wow. That's different. Yeah. Agree to disagree.
That's
anyway.
But they get off Jabba's hut, and they go to the moon. Well, they go meet up with all the rebels, and they're like, we're going to go to this forest moon, we got to shut down this thing, then we got to blow up the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. But when they go to the forest moon of Endor, they meet the Ewoks.
Yes, and then Luke detects. He's like, "Oh no, like fucking Vader can sense me."
He is literally on this planet.
Yeah, so I should probably go. Yeah. I've been putting it off. I gotta go deal with Vader, and so he goes off on his own thing while the rest of the gang are dealing with the Ewoks and the stormtroopers. Ewoks think C-3PO is a golden god, so they all like worship him. That's what allows them to stay alive because they're just going to eat them.
But then they become part of their tribe and their friends.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, Luke is like, I'm going to go deal with Vader, and it turns out this whole thing's been a trap. And that the Emperor is like setting
Your
up.
friends will find the shields are quite operational.
Yeah. So they're basically just on this mission that's just a whole fucking setup. So it's like, oh no. And meanwhile, they're expecting Luke to just give in to the dark side and kill his father. Which,
he almost does.
He almost does. But then he puts his saber down and he's like, I'm not going to do that. Because I believe my father's still in there.
I'm a Jedi Knight.
Then,
just like my father before him.
Yeah.
It's such a good line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, gets zapped.
Die, Jedi!
And then Vader's just like...
I don't like this. Throws them off.
I love Vader's body language in these movies because it always looks so nonchalant because he's just gotta kind of visually...
Yeah. And he can't be like too much because he's in a giant suit and he's not saying anything. So he's just kind of like slowly looking over, which it looks so like he doesn't care, but it's more like if he does any more, it just will look way too exaggerated.
Yeah.
That's the problem with acting in a giant fucking suit of armor.
Yeah, no. Shout out to,
David Prowse.
Yes.
The guy who didn't know he wasn't going to voice Vader.
Yeah.
That's funny. I've listened to David Prowse, though, and I'm like, kind of glad it was James Earl Jones.
Oh, yeah, no, James Earl Jones, iconic. Like,
but the physicality, I do like them together.
Oh,
I think it really works. No,
the two of them work really well together. And yeah, as much as I've loved seeing Hayden Christensen back in the suit, he's a little smaller, so it's not quite there.
Yeah, not too much. I think it's only like 3 inches shorter, but he's not like a bodybuilder though. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, doesn't have quite the same presence, but So Vader throws Palpatine into the big pit, and he's Luke's taking him out, and he's like, we're gonna save you. And Vader's like, nah, just take off my helmet. I would just want to see you with my eyes one time.
He's like, I have to save you. And he's like, you've already done that. And I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
I always, like, even just casually watching that movie, some of the lines during that really hit me hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fucking Vader fulfills his role in the prophecy, which is something that the prequels established, and not this trilogy. They never mention it in this, but so he dies as a pale white ghost man. He's like, tell your sister you're right. Tell your sister you're right about me. But and I guess meanwhile, down on Endor, Han Solo, Leia.
They blow it up. They do it with the help of the Ewoks. Mm-hmm. The Ewoks really carry them. They do.
Yeah, they really.
They're just destroying things left and right.
They would have been dead if not for the Ewoks popping in for that one heroic moment. And meanwhile, up in space, Lando and Admiral Akbar killing it up there.
Yeah, just destroying everyone.
Yep, and the Rebels win. Mm-hmm. The Empire is destroyed. And then they have a big party on Endor. And
they cut to all the other... I also really like that they cut to, like, the prequel planets in the special editions. Like, they cut to Coruscant and Naboo. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna, I flip-flop on, like, what I agree with, like, creative... Like, should you go back and edit movies? But at the same time, like, it's your movie. You can, like, do what...
Yeah, personally, my stance on of course you can go back and edit movies. I think where it gets a little muddy, especially with Star Wars, is the fact that they just don't have any official way to watch the original.
Yeah, like if like, if they released Blu-rays and all the versions were on them, it'd be one thing. Or maybe not all of them, because there's a billion at this one, but, like, original version and the remastered version. I think that would be fine. I don't agree with not having those, like, readily available, because I think film preservation should be a thing, and I think, like, we should still be remastering the original versions, just, like, not adding things, so.
Yeah. But you can still find them out there. You can find, like, some of the old DVDs if you, like, look on eBay. Yeah. You can find, you can pirate them online.
Yeah.
There's ways to find them, but it's
just also annoying that the biggest, like, film preservation right now, outside of, like, Library of Congress, which doesn't preserve that many things, is piracy. Like, that's the way. So, especially now that, like, streaming services that have originals are just removing things. Like,
yeah. It's just like, okay. Yeah,
it's like, cool, piracy. That's the only way that we're going to be able to keep these things, especially because we need them in some physical forms.
Yeah, that's like one of the big things that's always bugged me about Netflix is, like, even, like, shows that are old and well past, it's like they won't release on, like, media. It's like, this isn't,
they did Stranger Things, I think, but that's, like, it.
Yeah, they've got a handful of things. Like, they did, like, they released, like, I think, like, Olive Orange is the New Black and, like, House of Cards, but it's like, fucking, you won't find, like, Mindhunter or, they did do Daredevil in, like, some of those shows, but, yeah, it's just like, I don't know. They need to release their stuff on DVD. But, particularly, I think Disney does, especially now that they're doing all these Star Wars shit. That's not on home media of any sort. Like, you can't fucking... I mean, you can find, like, bootlegs of, like, The Mandalorian and stuff, but I don't think there's an official...
Yeah, I don't think so. Also, one thing I really like about the special edition of this is, you know, I do think that inputting Hayden Christensen there is a good idea. Because before it's just some random guy.
I mean, it's the guy who plays him at the end of the movie.
Yeah, but you see him for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And Hinatea, like, she literally will cry every time she sees Hayden in episode 6 at the very end. She just cried. She was, like, barely watching the movie, and she saw Hayden, she just started crying. Because I think, you know, like, Hinatea is different from us in the sense that I introduced her to Star Wars, so she saw them pretty much all at the same time. Like, right as episode 7 came out, we watched all of them. And she fucking loves the prequels. Like, I love the prequels, but she actively thinks they, like, make the original trilogy much better. Which I agree for the most part. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
But it's just weird to see. And I do agree, like, I think Hayden being there is awesome. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's not a choice I'm mad
at. But yeah, I think I love this movie so much because after something that's so, like, about failure, this one's all about, like, redemption. And also, it's really, really whimsical.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really whimsical movie, which I think fits really well for the end cap. Like, this, like, redemption, this final confrontation. It's all about hope. Like, this is the new hope, really. Like, this one's all about the hope for the future and stuff.
Oh,
which is another reason I'm so fucking annoyed at episode 9. Because that one is just so bleak.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, we'll talk about episode 9. But, yeah, fucking... Yeah, there's so much. We could do a whole episode on episode 9 alone, because it's like 3 movies crammed into a fucking one.
And not one of them good.
I knew when I looked at that before it came out and I saw that the guy who wrote the Justice League was on the screenwriting credits for that, I was like, this is going to be fucking bad.
I had hope though.
I
had hope because, you know, I liked every other Star Wars movie. So like, huh?
Yeah, I also had hope. I liked Last Jedi. I liked Force Awakens. I don't think they're perfect movies, but I enjoyed what they were doing. And then, the last one just came in, and I was like, you guys did not. There's literally that JJ quote out there where he's like, fuck it. And it's like, it really feels like that was the attitude going into this. And I get it was like a kind of hard movie to make, given some of the shit that happened behind the scenes.
Yeah, like Carrie Fisher dying. Yeah.
Yeah. But, we'll
talk about that. Yeah, a couple weeks. But I think Return of the Jedi is really, really fucking good. It used to be my favorite Star Wars movie, and I still understand why. It's so hopeful, and I think it is a really good end cap for like the original 6 core films.
Yeah.
I love the Ewoks. I love the adventurousness of it.
Mm.
And I think pretty much all the characters, while I don't think Han Solo gets a ton of stuff, I think every character in it gets a cool moment at the very least.
Yeah.
And I also like that it's not Luke that just destroys the Death Star. It's everyone else, and Luke has to go through his own struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like this one. It's probably, out of the original trilogy, my least favorite, just by default, because of the Han Solo thing, and also, I think Death Star 2, I'm not crazy about it. It's not like a deal breaker for me, but it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, so like compared to the tightness of the first two, this one just has that tiny bit of slack that puts it down at the third spot for me. But there's still it's still just a solid movie. Very enjoyable. Great. I love it. Whenever like Luke shows up in Jabba's palace and he's like, feels like a Jedi Knight, because he's clearly gone through the year of training with Yoda, and it's, it just carries across, and you see him like doing the shit that Ben was doing in the first movie. So it's like, it's a nice full circle moment. And I don't know. It's good. Good. I like Return of the Jedi. But. Got anything else you want to add to it? Or? Right.
Salacious B. Crumb's fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Love that weird little freak.
It's the one that's like under Jabba's butt, right?
He's like walking, he's like,
yeah. Doesn't he almost like kill C-3PO at that point? Yeah.
C-3PO is a fucking asshole.
Yes,
he's a dick all the time.
Yes.
Like, R2 is also, but in like a fun way. Yeah, C-3PO is just mean.
I think it helps that you don't understand what...
That's true. He's like, ooh, and he's like, what?
Rude. But, yeah. You would give this a 10.
I would. I think you're either at a low 8 or a high 7.
That's a 7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we did it. We watched Star Wars, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And next week, we're watching the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so pumped.
It's gonna be... I think the last time I watched the prequels... I want to say it might have been around the time we started the podcast. It wasn't... It was kind of around episode 9-ish. Maybe episode 8-ish, somewhere around there. But, yeah. Yeah.
Will be exciting. So tune in next week for Star Wars episode 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
May the Force be with you.